record on this computer. All right, good. Okay. All right, apologize for the delay there. Just getting myself organized here. All right, here we go. So what I share with people is, like, for example, Doug was training on Saturday, which was phenomenal. By the way, I got a lot of great feedback on Douglas training, which is one of his strengths is being able to teach these very unique, elaborate financial concepts with tax advantages, through using, what I call whiteboard finance, and that's super valuable because he makes something complex very simple. So difference is two things. So number one, difference is strategy. Excuse my chicken scratch here, right? So you often heard me say this, and when you share this with people, I want you to know this is how we what we stand, right? So strategy is, what do we teach when it comes to our strategy? Well, for example, Douglas training, we teach a lot on taxes, which is phenomenal training, guys, to understand the basics of our tax code. We teach people how to read numbers, right? So rule of 72, how to read interest rates, because if you don't know how to read interest rates, then you don't know how to read, right? You become, just like we say, when someone cannot read words, they're illiterate. Well, if someone cannot read numbers, they're financially illiterate. And our job is to raise literacy in people. So we have to teach people how to read numbers. And now that we teach people how to read numbers, well, what is the difference between an IRA and a 401k? What is the difference between a 401k and a Roth IRA? What is the difference between stocks and mutual funds that are just in a brokerage account versus inside of a 401k? Like, you have to know how those things work. And you got to study this on your own, right? When it comes to business, we're teaching this beautiful word here. I learned this word from Robert Kiyosaki, passive income. And I promise you guys, if people really understood the power of passive income, they would literally run through a wall to get it. And I think we understand it conceptually, but man, I promise you that once you experience it, you become what I call psychologically unemployable, because it is the only way that you get time and money together, right? This right here is about having our most precious resource, right? With this, okay? It's vital. And that's what we're here to teach you guys how to do. And in order to understand that, then we're entrepreneurship, right? What is an entrepreneur? We specialize in free markets, right? The free enterprise system, which is based on this beautiful word here called capitalism, which is the basis of how we make money in this country. Now, capitalism is what runs the show. If you do not understand capitalism, then you have to really understand capitalism. And every one of us are capitalists, right? As I look down the board right here, for example, I'll use Thomas Padilla as an example. So Thomas runs THP Fitness, which he used to be a 24-hour fitness trainer. And now he runs his own box. He runs his own gym. Okay, people pay him a monthly stipend, whatever that price point is. And in exchange, they get, right, so they pay Thomas money. And Thomas, based on capitalism, will provide value, right? And so he's got results to show that. So if I'm going to pay Thomas money, then I want to know, what is his track record, brother? And he's going to show me pictures. Here's this person that weighed, 5,000 pounds, and I got him down to 150, and they're fit, slim, trim. And I'll be like, wow, maybe that could be me. That's called capitalism, because the market doesn't care about your problems. The market doesn't care about you. All the market cares about is, what do you bring to the table? That's it, right? Market doesn't care, dude, right? No one, as the saying goes, no one cares about your problems, bro, right? All the market cares about is, can you deliver, right? What value are you going to give me for the money I'm about to give you? And if you can't deliver on that, then you're not going to be in business, right? That's all it comes down to, guys, right? It's as very simple as that. So when we talk about strategy, like Douglas trainings and the things that we want to teach you, is we want to teach you how all these things work here. What I'm going to be going over tonight is my favorite subject, is what applies to us all: psychology. because you can't just get strategy and not have psychology. So when it comes to psychology, here's a big part we want to look at here. I want to look at your habits. Right? I want to know how you operate on a daily basis. Right? When I study people, I just want to know what is their current frame of mind. And I always have a saying, right? You don't really get to know someone until you've been around them about 8 to 12 times. Why? Because think about it. How many times have you met someone on the first visit? Like, man, I spent an hour with such and such. And literally by the 5th time that you've been around that person, they're a completely different person from the first time. And why? Because every time you meet somebody, you're never meeting them. You're meeting what I call the representative, right? We all have a representative. Everyone can fake the funk on a nasty dunk, right? Everyone can put on a good show for the first, one time. What I start to see when I've been around people 8 to 12 times is I start to see their true colors. I start to say, ooh, I see the flaws here. We all have them, even myself, right? But I want to know consistency of behavior patterns in people. And this is based on your habits, which of course we want to say your habits, your consistent behavior. Okay. If you're positive, how long are you positive for? Right? Because if you're this kind of person, that's not going to be good in business. And we all know these kind of people, right? We call them up and down people. In business, you have to develop the emotional muscle to get like that. It ain't never that good. It ain't never that bad, right? Right? You take a licking and you keep on ticking, man. That's the game. So this is a big part of what we want to train here. And so then we have to start analyzing and looking at your beliefs, right? And what do we mean beliefs? What are your beliefs about you? Which is, what is your self-image? Big deal, right? Because I want you to hear this, right? And this is to everybody, right? Because this is something I've gotten a lot of work through on myself, right? Because how you see yourself, right? How you see yourself is exactly how everyone else will see you. And people say, what do you mean by that? Meaning, your self-image is what you behave like. Because none of us have a mirror on us 24/7, right? It's easy to, when we look at people around us, we study people, but we rarely have the mirror on ourselves because we don't walk around with a mirror 24/7. One thing I'm trying to do every morning when I'm brushing my teeth or I'm shaving my face is I take at least 20 seconds to just look into my eyes in the mirror, which is a little bit trippy, by the way, because I'm like, I never want to forget who I am, right? And making sure that I'm in touch with myself, and is myself, when I leave the house today, am I aware of who I am? Do I have my self-image intact? Do I have my self-worth intact, right? Do I have my belief on in myself? Because that's what it comes down to is, you're not going to get what you want in life if you don't feel that you deserve it. I don't care how smart you are, how gifted you are, how much you know about money. If you don't believe, you always are going to get out of life what you believe you deserve. No exception. So we have to work on that self-image, that identity. And so we also want to look at, what are your beliefs around money, right? What are your beliefs around money, right? And, so you see Isaac, he's holding up the book, The Power of Zero. Let me tell you how that reinforces itself. So if I read a book, and I know that most people don't read books, right? Most people want to be spoon-fed the information. If I read a book and I stay up late or I wake up early and I'm like, wow, I took the time and I invested in myself. I bought this book. I invested the time to read the book. I studied the book. Then it reinforces my belief of deserve, that I'm willing to do what most are not, and therefore I should get what most people don't. That is a belief system that I have, and it always reinforces itself. If you think that, man, if you're the kind of entrepreneur person that crosses their fingers and hope that things are just going to work out for you, I can tell you, you're trying to build your life on a wish factor, not on any form of foundation or structure. So that's a sign of, we have to work on that psychology. It's a big deal. Okay. So this is a big part of what we want to teach. And where I feel that the blue ocean with indifference is there's a lot of companies that teach strategy, but I want to incorporate strategy with all of this here, because if you can achieve a level of self-mastery and be able to analyze your behavior and analyze your habits, analyze your beliefs without having too much judgment, because once we input judgment on, we add a lot of emotion to it, and then it's harder to change. Oh, that's just the way I am. Oh, it's something I've struggled with for so many years. When we can look at it and be like, interesting. I didn't realize that I always behave that way. I didn't realize that I always react that way. Then I can look at that behavior for what it is, and now I can course correct and make the right changes. Right? This is huge, guys, if you can really process this, right? So I hope this is making sense. So with that being said, let me go into training here. And this is one of my favorite trainings on this subject, because most of you are like, oh, I've seen this training before, but and if you've seen this before, I want to ask yourself, do you do it? Do you actually study these things within yourself? Are you aware of them? Right? And what we're going to be talking about Saturday is how to really reprogram our subconscious mind. Okay, so let me go into presentation mode here. Oh man, let me move this here. Okay, so this is by my main man, Mr. Tony Robbins, which I'm a huge fan of, right? And I actually saw this live and in training. And it's funny, when I started learning this stuff, I realized that nowadays, because of technology, we can learn all this stuff on our own. And I think we're overwhelmed with information right now. Think about it. How many of you are addicted to learning new information? Like I mean, every day you're like, I already saw that video. It's a good video, but I saw it already. I want to get new information, because I love, my mind gets the endorphins of new information. Even though I'm not going to master this shit, I just want to listen to it because it sounds good. It's like a mental lollipop, and then I'm off to the next new thing. And our conscious mind is like, man, we hear so many new things, but we're the jack of all trades, but we're the master of none. And Tony Robbins said this, is like, most people, they're addicted to learning, but they're not addicted to mastery. And if there's anything that I want to master in my life, which I got a long ways to go, okay, is I want to know how to master the 6 inches between my ears. And that if I don't like a certain way that I'm behaving or thinking, that I now realize, in this, I'm speaking for my truth and myself, that I know that this is a high-speed computer system, that I need to delete a program that doesn't work anymore and install new programs. That's exactly how this machine works. Well, how do we do that? Okay. And so that's exactly what Saturday is going to be about. We're going to really go in deep with that on face-to-face, but this will lead into that. So let's go into the greatest secret ever here. So 90% of the time that I want to spend with you guys is teaching mindset, because the truth is only 10% is know-how, right? It's not enough. It's not enough to know what to do. You must do what you know. Do you see the depth in that? If we all did what we knew how to do, right? It's like that saying, it's like, it's like, oh man, I already know push-ups and pull-ups. I already know how to eat right. But do you do it? No. So why don't we do what we know? If we know how to do it, why are we doing it? Because it's not a program. It's a mental lollipop that we get consciously, but it's not part of a subconscious program. So it's not enough to know what to do, because otherwise, if we all knew what to do, I'm just blowing hot air at everybody and everyone gets the mental lollipop. Great training. But as soon as you turn off the laptop after this training, you go right back to your same habits, right? They say that the human mind thinks 60,000 thoughts per day. Of course, you don't remember all 60,000 thoughts. And it's also scientifically proven that 90% of the thoughts you thought today were the same 60,000 thoughts you thought yesterday, and the same 60,000 thoughts you're going to think tomorrow. And some of those are some good programs. A lot of those are not good, right? And those are the things we want to do. So life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. It's true, right? I can tell you right now, right? If you don't know who Jim Rohn is, I highly recommend you study it, right? Jim Rohn was a great teacher, a really great entrepreneur. And he sat with some bigwig corporate guys, and they said, Jim, give us the secret to success. What are the next 10 years look like in business? He's like, gentlemen, I can tell you right away what the next 10 years are going to look like. They're gonna look like a lot like the last 10 years. Well, what do you mean by that? Well, you're gonna have a combination of opportunity and difficulty. Sometimes there's gonna be more difficulty than opportunity, and sometimes there's gonna be more opportunity than difficulty, but the recipe will never ever change. And you know that, right? Right now, there's an abundance of opportunity right now, right? But sometimes we get so consumed with what's not working, it overwhelms what's right in front of our face, the opportunities that we see. I hope this makes sense. So one thing I didn't put on that psychology aspect is leadership, because if you're going to be in this company, is we don't want you just to be a follower. We want you to learn to be a leader. And what is leadership? It's influence, and let me ask you a question, like, what is your ability to influence? And people say, well, I am a leader. And if you call yourself a leader and nobody's following you, then you're only taking a walk. How many people are buying into you? And it's okay if you say right now, I got nobody buying into me. I've been there too, right? So how do I get people to buy into me? Well, shit, you have to first learn how to buy into yourself, right? And until you learn to lead yourself and influence yourself, then you will never have the emotion of deserve to lead others. It's the truth. I promise you that. So how do you develop that? Keeping your word to yourself, right? Keeping your word to yourself. Because once you learn to keep your word to yourself and that becomes part of your subconscious program, you have now developed the moral authority to hold other people to their word. My wife and I were just talking about this with our kids, because this is a big thing with raising children. So many times as parents, and those of you that have kids, you might relate to this, we coach our kids to behave in ways that we're scared to do ourselves, because we're so scared to do it. We said we project our desires onto them. This is why if you go to a little league game and you see parents like, come on, right? They live vicariously through their children. And we want our children to be successful. We want our children to be challenged. But when it comes to us, we wuss out a lot. And so if we're gonna coach our kids the right way and say, okay, son, daughter, you're gonna go through this challenge of relationships. Well, where is our personal experience to give them that? So my view is like, if I'm gonna coach my kids on something, I better be meeting that challenge as well in order to give them personal experience. It's the same thing as leadership. Leadership is really, really challenging, guys. And it's really difficult to be a leader. This is why most people don't ever get to it. So this is what it's about. For the sake of time, I'm not gonna go through the law of the lid, right? I'll save that for another training, even though I've gone through it. But I just want to emphasize this, and another part here is emotional intelligence. So I can that's synonymous to your behavior and your habits. We talk about IQ. IQ has nothing more than is way, what is the word? It's below, okay? It is below EQ. So do you want to have someone let me tell you what companies are looking for in the 21st century. They're not looking for people that have IQ, because you can learn that online now. Google can teach you that. Siri has all the answers at a drop of a dime. What human beings are lacking in the new world is emotional intelligence, EQ. How do you deal with failure? What is your recovery time? How quick do you recover from setbacks? And I'm all about it. I have friends, family members, and I say, hey man, how you doing? Oh, I'm going through bad, man. I'm going through a tough time right now. Okay, I understand that. Tell me about that, man. And then I'll listen to that, and I'm just going to put the mirror back in their face and say, wow, man, that's deep. Well, what are you going to do about that? And I find that most people just love to sulk in the emotion of the negativity because we love the pity party. It feels good to be like, oh, I'm so sorry, man. I'm so sorry, Carlo. Sorry you have to go through that. You know, I need a shoulder to cry on. We need to be better leaders. I'm not saying that you're not empathic and you don't learn to listen to people, but we also have to be the kind of people that say, how are you going to bounce back, dude? What are you going to do? Right? And not be a victim. And that is what a good friend is, right? I like having people around me that are willing to push me and challenge me a little bit, even though sometimes I'll be like, damn, that's the last thing I want to hear right now, but it's true. And we all need people like that in our life, right? And that to me is true love, right? If I love you, it's because like, come on, man, like I get you're going through that, but you got to push through it. And doing so raises your EQ. I have seen people on this call right now, you know, and that you've gone through some shit, right? I know some of you who've gone through some stuff and it's led to tears and it's led to heartbreak and it's led to some downfalls. But man, I can tell you right now that you would not be the man or woman you are today had you not gone through that. And so I don't want to rob you of the struggle because there's beauty in the struggle. And what is the beauty of it? What is the gift of the struggle? Emotional intelligence. You don't get emotional intelligence from success. You get emotional intelligence from pain, baby. Right? That's the only way you grow. And it's like, well, I want to grow. Oh, you want to grow? Get ready then. You're going to fail like a mofo. But I promise you, you're going to grow if you're willing to suck it up and not grow, right? So while you're building that, you also must be able to, and so that first bullet point, you must be able to clear the challenges in a non-emotional way. When you have a challenge with other people and your emotions always get in the way, it never works out well because now the emotion is in the way of logic. And leaders have to be the voice of reason. Because winning is not emotional, winning is strategic. It's strategic, right? Whoever just came on, just make sure you mute yourself, please. You know, it's strategic. So hold on, let me back out here. Somebody just came in here. Give me a second, guys. Let me just mute whoever came on because I don't know how to do it. There you go. Hey, Omar, welcome aboard, man. All right. And so the matter of fact, guys, is that your detachment from the challenges around you is an expression of faith that you can handle it. Ooh, that is so hard to do though. Because how many times do we get consumed by the current problems that we're going through? And and everyone comes to you, oh, well, your present situation is not your final destination. Or, hey, you know what? This too shall pass. This too shall pass. And it sounds like, oh my God, I can't wait till this to pass. Like it's so consuming my emotions right now. But that's it, right? That's why we have to go through it because we can't control it. And until we learn to go through that and deal with it quickly and recover faster, then we can get onto the next level of winning. And so why would you become, and if you're the leader, guys, and this is the big thing about leadership, because I've been in the Marine Corps 15 years and I've been around leaders that had no emotional intelligence, guys. I mean, when they got pissed, they would let everyone know it. They were just up and down, negative, Debbie Downers, I would call them. And it's just hard to be around that kind of person because they just brought no value other than their own negative energy. And they wanted everyone to follow them. And they wondered why nobody did. No one would pay attention to what they said. Even though they were in leadership billets, they couldn't get buy-in from people because people don't follow titles. People follow what they admire. People follow what they want to be like. And so the question goes for you, do you behave in ways that other people want to be like? It's a really valuable question. So you have to ask yourself that. And if you're the leader and everyone's emotional around you, then why would you become emotional about something that you've been called to fix? If you're the one that can fix it, then why are you screaming? Why are you the negative one? if you're the one that could fix it. And that's what I love about leaders. You know a leader when there's so much drama and chaos, and then the ones to be like, hey, listen, everybody listen. We're gonna be okay. Here's what we're gonna do. Here's the decision we're gonna make, and this is where we're going. And people are like, oh my gosh, that takes so much for someone to be able to do that. Right? And most people can't because they're so consumed by the emotion, but leaders have the ability to see beyond that. And that takes a certain level of self-awareness that we have to develop. And that's the purpose of this. So with that being said, is you have to be comfortable with controversy. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to own my time. I want to make 6 figures in a year, 6 figures a month. I want to be financially independent. But before you can do that, you have to be able to be comfortable with controversy. You have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And here's the good news, right? So let me say this to you guys, right? To give you this peace of mind, because I know, guys, I'm not naive, right? I know that people go through stuff. I know that many of you are going through stuff. Shit, I'm going through stuff. But here's what I know, guys. If you are bumping heads with people or you're having challenges around you, you're being prepared for the next level of leadership. Congratulations. Welcome to the class. You're part of that. And I want to, and the purpose of tonight's training is to inspire you, empower you, that if you're going through hell, or if you're not, get ready because it's coming around the corner, right? If you're going through hell, just keep going. Just lean into it. And know, right? You know, a training I did a few weeks back is from what I got from the Outwitting the Devil from Napoleon Hill, that every adversity within it has the seed of an equivalent advantage if you're willing to look for it. Ooh, that is gospel type wisdom. That is life-changing wisdom if you can really understand that. Let me repeat that. It's not written on here. I have it in another presentation, but it's the thing that comes to mind when I get this kind of content. Every adversity, I don't care what it is, guys, everything within it, there is a seed of an equivalent advantage, meaning that there's something positive in that little bit, in all that negative chaos, if you look for it. And that is the lesson that you needed to get. That's why you're going through that, because you needed to learn that in order to get to the next level. And not only will you have controversy from people on the outside, but this is something that you're gonna, you know, if you haven't gone through it, is you're gonna get most of your controversy could come from the very people that you're trying to help. It could be from your team. It could be from your family. And this is normal because our families love us. And sometimes the love they have for us could be a fear that they are projecting onto us, and it gets in the way of progress sometimes. You got to learn to suck it up. So my point is, are you going to feel lonely as an entrepreneur? Oh my gosh. It's a lonely road at times, guys. You feel very alone. I'm fortunate to have a great spouse, right? Who's really open. You know, as a man, I can tell you one of the most challenging things for me as a man is sharing my vulnerability, right? And, you know, let me look at you guys in the camera real quick as I share this with you. It's one of my biggest challenges is being vulnerable, right? Is, you know, when I'm going through pain, I'm going through struggle, I'm going through self-doubt. It's hard for me to go home and my wife's like, how was your day? Oh, you know, I'm doubting myself. I have a lot of insecurities. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it. How's your day? Right? It's the last thing I want to say, you know? And so having, you know, hopefully you have relationships, and if it's not a spouse, it's a friend, it's a family member, it's a confidant, someone that you can be vulnerable with, right? Where you can get stuff off your chest. I'm fortunate that I have someone like that. I know not everybody does, right? But it's such a big deal that if you do have someone like that, that really gets to know you that way. And if you're not, right, one thing that my spouse gave to me that I'm really grateful for is she provided an avenue for me to, like, she's like, come on, I know there's more going on. What is it? And it's really hard, right? But I encourage you that being vulnerable is something that we need to get to. And that's how we have breakthroughs, by learning the power of vulnerability. It's been life-changing for me. So just want to look you guys in the eye as I was sharing you that. All right. Now we're going to the good stuff here. So the 5 areas of life that are worthy of mastery. I love this slide, right? One of my favorite movies of all time is The Matrix. If you have not seen The Matrix, or maybe you saw it and you thought it was a good sci-fi movie, you know, The Matrix, they now call The Matrix not a sci-fi movie, but a documentary. There is so much truth to that movie in terms of how you can apply it in life. I took a course, right? Hi, Elena. Right? I took a course in college, just studying the movie The Matrix, and there's so much psychology in that movie. It's a phenomenal movie. But the 5 areas of life that are worthy of mastery is, obviously I put number 1 in italics because it's the number 1 thing that I feel we're here to master in life, is master our emotions. And I can tell you, I fail every day, right? I'm not someone that I see I'm a Jedi at this, right? But I want you to know that the only thing that I feel I've gotten better is my recovery time is better. I'll go through moments. Sometimes it's 5 minutes, sometimes it's an hour, and sometimes it's, okay, Carlo, get over this, man. You got to move forward. Can I change it? No, I can't change it. Just deal with it, move forward. That's emotional mastery, guys, right? Now, how many of us are going through an emotion right now that, my God, this emotion, this challenge, it's been keeping me down all week, all month, oh my God, all year. Something happened to you last December and you're still emotional about it right now. That is a sign that you need to work on your identity, right? We're never going to get to the next level. Some of you are laughing like, oh my God, is he talking about me, right? Number 2, physical mastery. Okay, I'm 40 years old this year, 40 years young. And, you know, when I was younger, my ambition for working out was, I call curls for the girls, right? I would go see a guy like Thomas. I'm like, bro, I want a 6-pack because I want the senoritas to look at this guy and be like, he is fine. But, you know, I'm married. I got 2 daughters now, right? I'm bald and beautiful, right? That's not my ambition anymore. So that has evolved. So now it's not about doing curls for the girls. It's really about feeling good about myself, having optimal energy so that I can keep up with the demands of my life. And that's so important because if you don't take the time for health and wellness now, you will have to take the time for sickness later. That's, you make that call you want. If you don't take the time for health and wellness now, right, you will have to take the time for sickness later. Just know that. And we see that in our families. How many of you have seen people in our families that their health has gone to shit because they've completely let themselves go, right? And they just don't work on themselves, and you see how it's affecting their relationships, it's affecting their self-image, it's affecting their mental health. You have to, if you want to be optimal entrepreneur, you have to also work on your physical. Relationships. What's your relationships like? That's another thing I look at, right? Is what is the wealth of your relationships? And, when I meet entrepreneurs in our line of work, I quickly say, tell me about your relationships, right? Oh, you've been married? How long you been married? I've been my wife 16 years, 21 years. I'm like, that is somebody that understands commitment and they can maintain relationships, right? I look at those things, right? If I see people that burn bridges all the time, I'm like, I'm that next bridge that's probably going to get torched, all right? So I look at people and how are they with building and maintaining, right? Anyone can initiate relationships. Can you maintain them? 4, financial mastery. Fortunately for us, we're in the line of work that teaches us just how to do that, okay? And that's what we're here to learn, right? Not only how to make money, that's where the cash flow quadrant comes in, right? Instead of trading time for money, how do we create value for money, right? And obviously, most important, time mastery. Because I don't care how much money you got. If you're making $500,000 a year, $1 million a year, $10 million a year, and you're like, I have no time, that doesn't sell me the dream at all. I'd rather be making $100,000 a year and have all the time than having $10 million a year and not have control of my time, right? To me, it's about time because that's what we're here to. Time and money together is freedom. And that's where we are here. And it's possible here, guys. I promise you that it's possible if you're willing to get into this, right? If you're willing to go through the challenges to evolve. I want to hear some comment, man. You guys getting value to this? I hope. Are you guys still with me? Good. So let's get into it here, right? So I want to wrap this up here in the next 15 minutes or so. Is where does stress come from? Where does the stress come from? And you can't go to a doctor and say, "Oh, doc, I got a lot of stress. Can you pull some blood from me and can you see how much stress there is in that vial of blood?" And the answer is no. You cannot manage stress. Stress is psychological. It's not biological. Even though there are biological effects of stress, which they cause disease, they cause the body to break down. Because when you break down the word disease, it's dis-ease, right? And the only way we can go into dis-ease is through our mind, right? So stress does not, I love this right here. Stress does not come from the facts. Stress comes from the meaning that we give the facts, right? And I think we've all been critical of others. Like, tell me, you know, have you experienced this where you have, where you're going through something like totally life altering? Like it can be, you know, disease, financial ruin, bankruptcy, divorce, like something crazy. And you muster up the courage to suck up and put a smile on your face that day. And then you go to work and then a coworker or a friend, and they don't know what you're going through, but you kind of put the mask on your face and you're kind of just smiling again to the face. And they're like, oh, and they come to you and say, "Oh my God, I'm going through this problem right now. You know, I lost my dog on Saturday and my whole life is," you know, like, really, dude? Like, that's getting you down? I don't even want to tell you the shit that I'm going through right now, right? We've all been there, you know, and I'm not saying to judge that person because there's different levels of that pain. But stress does not come from those facts. It comes from the meaning that we give it. So what is the single right? And so that leads me to this, and I'm going to go into presentation mode now. And I ask you guys this beautiful question here is, what is the single most powerful force that ultimately controls the quality of your life, right? And this is what makes the human being the most evolved species on the planet. This is why we are top of the food chain, baby, because of this, right? You know, I recently went to the vet where I'm getting close to putting my dog down of 15 years, which is really tough. And I was like, well, she's not in pain. And the vet said something to me. She's like, here's the thing about animals is that they don't show pain like humans do. Because if they show pain, then they leave themselves open to predators or they lose their alpha. Right? If they're alpha and they show pain, that's weakness. So they don't show pain. As human beings, we're like, oh, I'm so hurt right now, right? It's different with human beings. So what makes us the most evolved being on this planet, the human being, is because of what I'm about to share with you. This is the single most powerful force that ultimately controls the quality of your life, and all of us have this power. That's number one. Are we conscious of this power? And do we exercise this power? And here it is, right? It's the power of choice. We all have the power to choose, every single one of us. You can choose to focus on what's going well in your life, or you can choose to focus and commiserate on what's not working in your life. Either way, it's your choice. No one can rob you of that. Always know that the power to choose is up to you. And so we can never control the events that happen in our life. None of us can. But I hope this sets you free. We do have absolute control on what we choose to do with what happens, though. Ooh, man, if you can meditate on that. You can't control who's going to cut you off. You can't control if you got in a car accident, someone hit you, right? You can't control the things that you have no control over. But we have total absolute control on what we choose to do with what the results that we get. So here's the psychology of choice. And this is really the premise of this training tonight, is these three. We're going to break down a choice analytically. let's get into the biology and the psychology of a choice. So what happens when you make a choice? I like this little saying here. If you have the power to change something that is holding you back and you don't, that's a choice. That's not a limitation. If you don't like, right, as the saying goes, if you don't like your body, change it. If you don't like your bank account, change it. If you don't like your relationship, first change you. Because if you think you need to change your partner, all you end up doing is bringing your same old self to the next relationship. So what happens when you make a choice? Big choices start with small ones. And this is the psychology of a choice. Check this out. This is super, super important. Okay, number one is you choose what to focus on. Nobody can make you focus on anything that you first don't give permission to. Nobody can. If you read the book by Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning, when he was in a concentration camp, he said, the one thing that liberated me spiritually is that the Nazis could do anything to my body in that concentration camp. I had no control. But they could not make me think anything I did not want to think. They could not make me feel anything that I didn't want to feel. They could not make me focus on anything that I didn't want to focus on. That was my choice. They didn't have that power over me. That's such a valuable thing. So you get to choose what to focus on. And you also get to choose what things mean. You choose what they mean, right? So for example, you know, in the beginning of a relationship, when you're in that lovey-dovey puppy dog stage, you know, and you're in the honeymoon stage, as we call it, and your partner says, hey babe, can you throw out the trash? You're like, oh, of course. Take out the trash. I love her, take out the trash, right? And then 6 months later, and they're like, hey babe, can you take out the trash? You're like, you take out your own damn trash, right? That's what tends to happen. What happened there is the meaning changed. If you did the things, right, people say, I don't know what happened to my relationship. Well, if you do the things in the beginning if you do the same things that you did in the beginning of your relationship, towards the end of the relationship, there probably wouldn't be an ending. And what happens is we change the meaning. The meaning changed. And that's what happens in business too, right? If we have, you know, and if we have two people, and let me get out of here and go to my screen here. Let's apply this to business here. I'm gonna go back to my whiteboard here. So you have, let's do it. You have recruit A, and say you have recruit B. Okay. Let's do some stick figure here. And they both do 10 appointments each, right? Each of them do. And they both get the same. They both, out of 10 appointments, they get 3 people to say yes, which obviously got 7 people to say no, right? Same over here, right? 3 yeses, 7 no's. So what happened here? So in this case, recruit B quits. Why did they quit? Right? And I'll tell you why they quit is typically because this associate focused on the 7 no's, and that consumed their mentality. They're like, oh my gosh, I got to talk to 10 people just to get 3 people to say yes? No, thank you. Let me go back to the job I hate, trading time for money. Over here, associate A, recruit A gets excited. They're like, why are they excited, right? Because they focused on the yeses and not the no's. They said, oh my gosh, that means if I talk to 20 people, I'm going to get 6 yeses. And this person focused on logic and not on emotion, because we said winning is strategic. So if he talks to 60 people, he gets 9. Matter of fact, as he does more appointments, he gets better because of consistency and repetition. But this is what happens to when emotions get in the way, because if you're this associate and you focus on those no's, if you get what I call paralysis of fear, and you don't move forward. And I promise you, each and every one of you, I have been kicked out of houses. I have been told some very rude and cold things by prospects, right? I have been told the worst. I've been told, you like, well, what are your credentials? Like, so you're not an advisor? So how are you qualified to give me this information? People have been flat out rude and cold, but I can't control how they're going to behave, but I can control how I'm going to react, right? So this is what I'm trying to teach you guys with this whole lesson here. So you want to write this down and focus on this. Whoever just came on board, make sure you mute yourself, please, because we could hear you. That was you, Gail. Mute you. Okay, so let's break this down and we'll be done, guys, okay? So number one is you get to choose what to focus on. Whatever you focus on, you're going to feel whether it's true or not, no exceptions. That's the power of the mind. The mind can create reality. And whatever you focus on, you're going to feel whether it's true or not. So if you focus on how, like, you know what, people just don't give a shit, people don't care, then the only thing that your mind can see, it's going to give you the evidence to support that emotion. And all you're going to see is people that don't care. And the person that does care, you're like, get out of my face, because right now I'm in a don't care, and all I can see is people that don't care. Your mind will create that reality for you. Be careful with that. However, if you focus on how everybody has some good inside of them, then at some level you will find that. That's something that the more vulnerable, the more I've become self-accepting of my own flaws, of my own insecurities, it's made me so much more accepting of other people's insecurities and other people's inadequacies. And it allows me to focus on when I see someone that's behaving in a way, I'm like, ooh, that's some tough behavior, instead of being like, what an idiot. I instead empathize and say, you know what, I know that person is trying to do the best with what they got. They just need more resources. I need to be a little empathetic, and how can I help that person break through that, instead of judging and being like, oh my God, what an idiot. And so I want to challenge you to look at, everybody has gold if you're willing to look for it. Now, don't get me wrong, sometimes you got to dig, man. But everybody has something good, okay? So, continued, seek and you shall find. What a powerful proverb that is. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, either way, you're right. Right? How many times have we heard that? It's kind of a played out saying now, but if you really study it, how we master that within ourselves. Or sometimes when we think we can't, we really think we can't. And we think we're a victim. Oh man, it's the economy. It's this person's fault. It's that person's fault. Why I'm not where I want to be, right? No, we don't own it. Because once you realize that everything is your fault, then you can, at least you own it. So, you know, you can no longer blame anybody else. Because if I own it, then I can change it. But if I blame you for why my life is not working, then you have to change in order for my life to change. And you could wait forever for that. You have to change. For things to change, you must change. What are you focused on in the area of relationships? Are you focused on what's working or not working? What are you focused on in this business right now? Do you have more emotions and thoughts of, I can't do this, or how can I do this? Think about your thought process there for a second. Study your behavior, study your emotions. When you think about your difference business, your entrepreneurship, do you find yourself more feeling sorry for yourself? Like, you know why? I'm not going to win because my English is not that good, because I'm not good at math, because I barely graduated this, because, you know, like you start going through these excuses of why you can't win. And what you're really doing without your awareness is you're creating reality. And again, your mind is giving you evidence on why you're not going to win. But if you were to really ask yourself, now, let me just pause this for a second and let me ask you this question. Ask yourself this question right now in your mind. How can I do this? And your mind has to answer that question. Pay attention to those answers. And are you really doing those things right now? And in short, more than likely you're not. This is what we're trying to talk about. This is the power of our mind. So here's a great scenario of this, right? Oops. So scenario here, right? The economy collapses, right? And this is so true. This is what's going to happen in the next market crash. The economy collapses and two business owners interpret two entirely different meanings. So similar to recruit A, recruit B. So the first person, the economy crashed. Oh my God, the economy crashed. I'm going to struggle even more now. And my business is going to fail and I'm going to go broke. Another person interprets a completely different meaning. You know what? The economy collapsed. So man, you know what? I got to buckle down. I got to make changes now. And I got to get creative. Let me take advantage of this opportunity because there's a lot of opportunity right now. And I'm going to smoke everyone that is thinking Chicken Little, the sky's falling, right? Now, which one is true? Whether you think you can or you think you can, either way, you're right. They're both true. The meaning you give anything will determine the next physical action you take without fail every single time. It's so good, guys. Man, this is like such a powerful realization. And I want to record this on autopilot so you listen to it with ear pods on as you're falling asleep overnight so we can really reprogram your subconscious mind, right? Because right now I know I'm just talking to your conscious mind, which is like, ooh, I get it, Carlo, it makes sense. But as soon as you go back into autopilot, those programs will kick in again, right? So the question is, well, how do I change those programs? Well, that's what we'll learn on Saturday, okay? All right, we're almost wrapping up, guys. So hold with me here a few more minutes. So you see, excuse me here, whether something is the end or the beginning is totally up to you. Now, here's a very honest question to ask yourself right now. Are you at the end of your difference business or is it just the beginning? Dun, 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 dun. Ooh, it's a philosophical question, right? But it's true. I'll tell you right now, Dago and I was talk about, like, we're still at the beginning, man, right? You know, we had I remember in the Marine Corps, we did a 30-mile hike and we were supposed to start at this point on the map and our leadership got us lost. So we had to hike 10 miles to the start line of a 30-mile hike, right? So that's like synonymous to your business as entrepreneurs. Like we had to hike, 30 miles to start this 100-mile, race, and we have a full 100 pounds on our back. But again, right, you just roll with the punches and you keep on going. As I mentioned earlier, don't you act differently in the beginning of a relationship than at the end? So what changed? The meaning changed, right? We talked about that. It's the meaning that changed. And if I don't want to lose I don't want to lose my partner. Well, if you keep doing the things that you did in the beginning, there probably will never be an end. Right? Sounds logical, but again, there's so much emotions, right? There's so much growth. There's so much accepting. Once you decide, then and only then does it become true. And that is something that I feel is the biggest thing here, right? Because it's what you focus and give meaning to. I like this. Have you guys heard the law of Goya? Goya. The law of Goya is get off your ass. Focus plus meaning equals action. You have to go get it. I like read the quote there. Get off your ass and do something your future self will thank you for. If you want a new life or new experiences, then you have to make new choices, period. If you don't like your career or business, change it. If you don't like your body, change it. If you don't like your relationship, change you first. Because if you change it, you'll only end up bringing you to the next one. And that's real talk, okay? So driving the point home is the bottom line truth is this, is that you have to become conscious of the choices that you make. And when you make decisions on what to focus on, what things mean, and what to do from a state of unconsciousness, it always leads to terrible results. Does that make sense? So look at the, you know, let me use my mouse here. You see, I love, you know, this is one of the most famous ways of describing the conscious and subconscious, because right now, as you guys are looking at your eyeballs and are understanding this, what is processing your understanding right now? Your conscious brain is. So right now you're like, duh, Carlo, I know this already. I've seen this iceberg on like 10,000 Facebook memes already. But your consciousness, your conscious brain is not where change comes from. 95% of what is running your life is your unconscious or your subconscious. It's your autopilot self. We don't even know what we don't know that we're self-sabotaging. I used to say so many times, you know, and it was Dago that would correct me. I was like, you know, bro, but it's not about the money, man. It's not about the money. And I was struggling financially, and he would be like, bro, you always say that. It's about the flipping money, right? What is the purpose of being an entrepreneur? Is to make money. And so that was a subconscious program, because conscious, I would tell him like, bro, I know that. Don't tell me that. I know that. He's like, yeah, you know it on a conscious level. But what just spoke right now, you didn't even know, you weren't even aware. You don't even know that you don't know that you just said that. That was your subconscious program that spoke. So how do we change this? Again, you'll learn that Saturday's training. We're gonna know it. We're gonna get pragmatic. We're gonna get practical about this. But when you make decisions on what to focus on what things mean, and what to do from a state of unconsciousness, meaning from this 95%, it always leads to terrible results, because your programming is what takes over. And a lot of times those programs are not that effective, right? This is why what you really want in your life, you've never experienced. And your subconscious only replays the record of what you've experienced. So if you want to rewire the subconscious, then get ready, because you're going to have to start building a new emotional muscle of getting comfortable being uncomfortable. We have to shock your nervous system so much for change to happen. And this is where I've seen true change, you know, and I'm talking to those of you right now who are sick and tired of being sick and tired, that you're like, I'm done. I'm so tired of my bank account looking that way. I'm so tired of my relationship this way. I'm so tired of my body this way. Until you can't just be sick and tired until you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, until you're like, I am so done with this pain. I'm tired of being a victim to my own pain and my own circumstances that I know that I'm creating. That's when you shock the subconscious so much that shift happens. And when does change happen? In a flipping second. You make a decision right then and there. That's it. I'm done. Enough. I'm not going to be this way anymore. Some of you are maybe there right now. Some of you, like, you don't have enough pain yet. Right? Let me, and check this out. I don't have a slide on it, but let me ask you this question. You guys hearing my voice right now? Listen to what I'm about to tell you. What is the payoff that you're currently getting by not keeping your word to yourself? There's a payoff. I promise you that. What is that? There is a payment, a compensation that you're getting by not taking responsibility. Only you can answer that for yourself. What are you getting from not taking ownership of your flipping life? And there is a payoff. But I can promise you that you facing that problem, you facing that challenge is so much more significant than that flipping payoff that you get by not taking ownership of your life. So, in wrapping up here, the power of a decision. Leaders get paid to do one thing, and that's make flipping decisions. And that's where people struggle. They can't make a decision. And you know what decision really means? Like, we know what incision is, right? When you make an incision, when you go get surgery, a surgical doctor has to make an incision. Well, decision is to cut off. And what does that mean? It's a Latin origin, actually, the word decision. That means to cut off the only thing that matters, which is the result that you're after. That's the power of a decision. Have you cut off all the things that don't matter and made a decision that you're going to become what you're meant to become in this life? And are you stubborn? And are you disciplined? And are you focused enough? Have you created the right meanings around what will it be? Because when you make an absolute decision and cut off everything except the desired outcome, your physiology changes, your vocabulary changes, your body language changes, your attitude changes, which equals new results, which equals your life. So it is not our conditions that equal your destiny. It is your decisions that equal your destiny. Have you made a choice? And I'll tell you guys, and I just run metrics on this as I look, statistically speaking, over half of you will not be on this webinar next year. Statistically speaking, I'm not trying to tell you personally, it's not a personal tag. It's because people's unconscious are too stuck in their conditions and they become a victim of their own circumstances. When you make a decision that you're going to succeed and you start asking yourself better questions, how am I going to succeed, right? As I tell people, oh, I'm leaving California, it's too expensive to live here. The right person says, well, how can I live here? Because I want to. How can I make the money? Because if you find, like I said, either way, your mind is going to come up with the answers. Oh, I can't live here anymore. There's got to be a cheaper way to live. And your mind's going to say, well, move to Arizona, move to Texas. But if you ask your mind, well, how can I live here? Then your mind's going to say, let's answer that question logically. How can we live here? Use your mind. All right. I like everybody's comments here. So, good stuff. What do we get from that? I want to hear from a few people, not the normals. I get a chance to hear your face. Lola, are you there? Or were you Facebooking and watching the 6 o'clock news while you're going through our training? Oh, I think we just busted Lola, guys, right? I was on the training. I wasn't. She just logged on and bounced. Let me hear from that beautiful bearded man right next to him. Mr. Thomas Padilla, brother. You are unmuted, man. What did you get from tonight?
Can you guys hear me?
Loud and clear.
No, I thought it was a good training, Carlos. Thank you, man. Always appreciate you taking time out and doing this, because you don't have to do this, man. You don't have to do this right here. You got a good business that's running. You got money. You don't need to do this for other people. So we really appreciate you being consistent, taking time out to help us. We appreciate that. I'll start by saying that. And then, no, I thought the training was good, man. And, the pain, I like how you're talking about change, man, and I have a little quote too that I wanted to write down that I have in my head. It's one of my favorite ones. It says that change comes when the pain of staying the same overcomes the pain of making a change, which is exactly what you just said. So some people kind of get stuck in that little comfort zone where it's just not quite enough to make them want to change their life. And they'll just go their whole life like that, but once you get that little flip of the switch and you make a decision, that's when the real magic happens, man. So I thought it was a good training. Thank you.
Awesome, brother. Thank you for sharing, man. I appreciate that. I want to hear from a new person, right? This is a guy, by the way, I met this guy 4 years ago, and he calls me out of nowhere last week, and we hadn't talked like in, 3 or 4 years. And he's like, hey, man, I think I'm ready to look into this again. I'm like, wait, who the heck is this? And just a really solid dude, man. He was a DJ, and did really good there, man. He opened up for Pitbull, actually. I'm putting his news out there. but decided to make a shift because of that environment wasn't conducive toward his growth. And when I met him, actually, the reason I prospected him is because he was reading Awaken the Giant by Tony Robbins out of Starbucks and Encinitas, I believe. And I was like, who's this dude, right? And so that's Mr. Richard Grant, man. Let me unmute you, brother. What'd you get from today, man? Pleasure having you on.
Hey, I really, I really resonated with a ton of the stuff you were saying. It was great. I was cooking dinner, trying to be healthy myself and really focusing on my fitness and my health because I know how important that is. And I really love that statement that you said about, I wrote it down here, how it was, let me see. If you don't take the time for health and fitness now, you'll have to take the time for sickness later. That's super powerful. And that kind of stuff plays a role with, just overall, just in every aspect of life. If you're not putting in the time now, it's going to not pay off later. You're going to end up, paying for it in other ways. I heard a lot of the stuff that you were talking about. It's a lot of stuff that I was reading with Tony Robbins. He's a powerful figure, and a lot of the stuff that he says, and it resonates really well with me. And I wish I could honestly hear stuff like this every single week, because the podcasts that I listen to don't have that much of an impact that you brought to the table today. So that was awesome, man. Really, thank you.
You're welcome, man. Well, you can hear stuff like this every Monday, brother, once you get going with us, man. So I'm excited.
Yep.
All right. So
I'll
awesome,
be here.
brother. Thank you for joining. And what I'll do is thank you, brother. I appreciate your feedback on that. And let's go ahead and mute yourself again, please. And I want to leave it open to, let's get one or two people just on your own. Who wants to volunteer and just say, maybe something really stood out to you. Maybe you want to share something. I'd like to hear from just one or two people before we shut it down for the night. Anybody else? Going once? Going twice? Man, thought for sure I'd get at least Cynthia Salcido, to say something, but I guess not. Well, now I have to pick on you, Cynthia. So what'd you get? Are you there? I can't hear you. You're unmuted, but I can't hear your voice. Is your volume on? Yeah, your volume is off. Like you're unmuted on the Zoom, but we can't hear your voice. You there? See, now your computer's saying, see, if you would have just volunteered, he would have heard you. Now the computer's saying, this is what you get. I love you, buddy. I'm looking forward to seeing you on Thursday. Okay, keep trying if it comes up. Let me see. Anybody else? All right, let's go with one of my favorite people, J-Lo. You knew it, huh? You're like, I know it. He's gonna ask me. You're unmuted. Is your volume on?
I was just like this. Don't pick on me. Don't pick on me. I liked what you were saying at the beginning. It was just a reminder for me that the challenges and the recovery time and things like that, because I'm trying to figure that out at my job, because there's a lot of new things for me, and so trying to balance that and realize I'm not going to have it all together. It is a mission for me, so it's I was actually thinking about, like what you said, how can I make it happen? How do I make this work? How do I help this person get through their challenge as well without me taking over? It's not going to help a person if I'm doing something for them. They actually have to start learning how to do that, whatever the job is. So.
Yep. Well said. Well said, and I appreciate you sharing that. And it goes to show, and if I can piggyback on that, and I guess the whole premise of this is, as we look at our life, we have to start asking ourselves better questions, right? We have to start asking ourselves better questions. because the quality of our life is really based around the questions that we ask ourselves. And once we can ask ourselves those questions as to why am I doing this? What does this mean to me? Why am I trying to make more money here? Why am I trying to be independent? Why do I want to win for my family? Why do I want to be somebody? Until you define those meanings, and once you get that meaning, take action on it instantaneously, whether you're ready or not. You have to take action. That's the law of Goya. Get off your ass, right? And start applying these things as possible. Is it going to be uncomfortable? I'm telling you right now, it's going to be uncomfortable, right? Because your body is addicted to the consistent behavior patterns that you've been in. But if you want to have something that you've never had, you're going to have to start doing shit that you've never done. Just know that. I mean, I don't know what else to say. That if you want something that you've never had, something that you've never experienced, then you're going to have to do a whole new set of behaviors and thought processes that you've never done either. And that is flipping uncomfortable, but it's the only way. It is the path to freedom, right? I promise you. So, guys, day 25, thank you so much. Happy to hear you guys got value from this. Friday, you guys know who you are, up in LA. Okay, if you can be there closer to 10, we can start a little bit early. I got to be gone by 3, so I want to get at least 4 hours of just really, spending time, seeing everybody's beautiful face. And then Saturday training, we're going to get together here. I know Yuma's going to be staying the night from what I hear. And Saturday is going to be legit, guys, and I got to give credit to my business partner here, Mr. Isaac Calacillo, who brought an amazing idea on what we want to start really doing to make this shift. And we have the exercises and everything that we're going to do this Saturday. It's going to be all on the subconscious mind, baby. Okay, it's going to be good. So this Saturday, 9:45, 10:45, or 11:45. And I know for those of you that are invited, I know Jen, your daughter's graduating this Friday morning, right? And that's at 8 a.m. Right? So, if we can, for those of you, that's really right across the street from my house. So if we can pop by there before we head up, that could be cool. Excited to see Elena graduate high school. Okay, beautiful people. I love you. I hope you guys got value. Peace and love. Have a good night.